that doesn't get you bricked up in the Home Depot, I don't know what will. Welcome to Player Profiler News Primetime Friday. This is the premiere. That's French for first one. We are revamped, canoodled, and ready to go. Used to be Player Profiler Today. Now we're Player Profiler News Primetime Friday, presented by Fast Draft. You like drafting fast? Draft faster at Fast Draft. What's going on?
Draft rapido.
Mr. Curry.
Well, if I was any better, I'd be twins, but I've legally changed my name to stop all of this slander of one tremendous legacy NFL prospect in the 2025 draft. I will no longer be referred to as Justin Curry. My name moving forward will be Chev Sanders.
Yeah, we got Jameer Biggs and Chev Sanders in the house. I thought you were going to refer to Curry, and so I was going to flash.
Yeah. So the funny story about that is, like, all the people that spell it either IE, which is like 4 people in the United States, and everybody else that's normal, it spells it with a Y. It's just all due to like this one dude just being like, hey, like one of my great uncles just being like, yeah, no, I don't want to spell it with a Y anymore. So
I would like to be different.
Yeah.
Nice. It's good to be different. It also looks more French. It looks more like Curie than Curry.
Yeah, I look like Madame Curie.
That too. All right, everybody, we got a big show for you today. We are going to get into some stuff that we're going to talk about, right?
We're going to talk about stuff. We're going to talk about the happenings that happened when they happened after they have happened, and now we get to discuss them.
Exactly. And the comments are already fired up. Greinberg coming in hot with Chev. And how bricked up should we be about Ladarius Shadarius? We'll talk about that when we talk about our combine players, because that's what we're doing today. If you saw the thumbnail, we got some guys to talk about, guys like Cam Ward and Jackson Dart and Trey Harris. But we're probably not going to talk much about them. We're going to talk about other guys, and we'll direct some of the content towards guys we be watching at the combine. Before we get to that, however, we have a top story. I guess I don't know how to do, like, the theme is combine. The top story. Go over the news. So I don't know if this is the top story, if the theme is the top story. I don't. So this will be the top story. As you all are followers of Player Profiler now, you should be up to date on all of this stuff. If you are not, then we're going to be feeding some information into your ear holes that you may not be privy to. First of all, we're going to be getting to the story that the Vikings will let Sam Darnold test free agency. According to the author of this piece, he will be a free agent in 2025 after a late season collapse. I mean, that's a little bit unfair to Darnold. It wasn't his collapse. It was mostly the offensive line. It was the Lions absolutely put the clamps on him. He did lead the Vikings to 14 wins. I'm just trying to get out ahead of the narrative when he signs with the Raiders, because but what about the playoff?
Back into it?
But what about the 14 wins? How does that erase 4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns? His last 2 performances, are probably key factors.
His last 2 performances were 1 touchdown, 1 interception, a fumble lost, and 11 sacks across the 2 games. So
he was clamped.
And he scored 9 points in those games. So it's like,
I'm familiar. However, I would rather have a 14-win season, a playoff berth, and then get absolutely destroyed than go 3-14.
Well, I mean, look, as the current resident fan of a team that went 3-14, let me just tell you something. Okay. Sam Darnold was on my radar too. And then I watched those last 2 games and I was like, we can't pay this guy $30 million a year. We can't do it.
You can pay him $50 million.
I pulled a full Mike Singletary. Can't do it. Can't win with him. Can't do it.
But they did. It was if the offensive line had played better against the Lions, if Kevin O'Connell knew how to coach, then
Whoa.
I'm kidding. That was sarcasm.
Okay. All right. I was like, boy, you have drank Pete Carroll Kool-Aid there, bud.
Oh, I'm not making any flag plants that Pete Carroll can still coach, or even Chip Kelly in the. I'm gonna look.
Those New Balances are made for chewing gum.
Chev and I are coming from a perspective that's, pretty rarefied. Like our teams are bad, and there's not a lot of hope. And we made a lot of changes over the course. I don't know if you saw my tweet today. Somebody was talking about show two people who got serious beef, and I posted a picture of Chev and a picture of John Robinson, former Titans GM. There's not a lot of hope here. At least Sam Darnold will put a smile on my face. You know what I mean?
Like
we might go 5-12, but I'd have a smile on my face.
Here's the thing, Biggs. Like, I'm not saying I've discussed Sam Darnold on multiple platforms more than I ever intended to in the year of our Lord 2025. However, like, I just cannot get over the fact that, like, I wanted to be fully bought in, but all of the warning signs about what happened in those last 2 weeks, they were happening throughout the season. And so I just can't get behind giving this guy that type of money. If you want to give him like a 70% of Baker Mayfield's deal, which is 3 years, $100 million, you want to give him 2 years or 3 years, $75 million, do that, because you're not hamstringing your team for forever. And then make it to where it's a front-loaded deal to where you can get out of it so you can get into that 2026 class, or you can get into the 2027 class, because we don't know what the quarterback landscape is going to look like there. We think Lenore Sellers and Arch Manning are guys that are going to be, prevalent parts of that class, and Nico Lama Red Pajama at Tennessee. And I can't, for like, no matter what, this guy's not your quarterback for the next 10 years. He's not your quarterback for the next 5 years, in my opinion. And so giving him the long-term security is just securing pain in your future on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays, and whatever other day Amazon bought moving forward.
It's a coin that I see both sides of. And, all I'm saying is I'm coming at it from the perspective of, as a fan, I wouldn't hate it. You know who I want.
We know, and we're going to talk about it.
And if Sam Darnold coming in and getting the okie doke from the Raiders, signing him to a contract, and then our rookie that we take with the 106 takes over, I don't have a problem with that, because you have a rookie contract that just signed a bonus, but they're still fairly cheap. And then you have, your free agent guy. It's a waste of money. Okay. Anyway, wide receiver Kyle Phillips. Woo! That really, I could feel the shake of the NFL underground when that happened.
Hey, you got yourself a quality special teams gunner there, big guy.
So I wrote, and about the former Titan. So I had interesting that the Titans saw more in Treylon Burks than Kyle Phillips. Okay, so I wrote this up, and and for those of you who read Player Profiler News and the blurbs that we post on Player Profiler now,
if you don't, you should a lot.
You definitely better be. It's the best way to stay up to date. I wrote this one up, and there's not a requirement. There's just kind of like a guideline of the format that we should use and stuff. So we have like the headline, and then we have like the plug, the header, and then we write 2 paragraph bodies. And this was my full write-up. The Las Vegas Raiders have added some roster depth by signing former Eagles wide receiver and Super Bowl champion Kyle Phillips. I had to throw that Super Bowl champion part in there just to kind of fluff it up a little bit. And then
You should have taken it a step further and said that he was part of the Traylon Burks AJ Brown trade. Like that was the other pick that we got.
I should have actually. And then that was the first paragraph. The second paragraph: the signing of the wide receiver entering his fourth season is a depth move. Phillips did not play a snap for the Eagles in 2024. So no needle moving here. It's fun to talk about. All right, Taysom Hill is likely going to get cut by the Saints. Derek Carr is set to be the Saints quarterback. And then there's more Saints news. They hired Kellen Moore as the new head coach. And also they just added Brandon Staley, erstwhile of the Los Angeles Chargers of Inglewood of San Diego, to take over as defensive coordinator. And then
how do you feel about that? Because one, this is a man who had enough intertesticular fortitude to cat cow in public in an NFL stadium. And, in spite of all of his shortcomings as a coach, I don't think that's going to move the needle, mostly because they have so much dead cap space and they're not going to be able to address any of the needs unless they hit home runs at every single pick, at every single turn in the NFL draft. Like, that's not a needle mover for me.
No, and there's also an element of you have two guys who have been failures before. So it doesn't hurt with your cap situation to bring on two guys that have failed, because you're not going to break a lot of hearts by moving on from them if they fail again. And Brandon Staley and Kellen Moore have coached together. A couple of years ago, Kellen Moore was with the Chargers organization. Brandon Staley was the head coach. And didn't work out too well for them. They went for the tie.
Now the turns have tabled.
The turns have tabled, and the turntables, and they're taking over. And it's kind of funny that Derek Carr is that quarterback, because he's the one that stuck the dagger in those two, and I love the irony of that.
I think that, one, we're going to be subjected to that whole deal, whatever they got going on down there, for at least 3 years.
Yeah.
Probably, no, 2 years at least. Depending on how poorly the second year goes, we could get a third year. But if they show promise, this becomes like a 4-year outfit. And that makes me, I don't know how I feel about that.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Raiders, where it's just every offseason is consistent churn and new storylines. You don't hear a whole lot about the Buffalo Bills. You don't hear a whole lot about the Philadelphia Eagles. You don't hear a lot about the San Francisco 49ers, because there's not a lot of regime change. But what do you hear about every year? Raiders looking for a new OC. Raiders looking for a new head coach. Raiders looking for new coaching staff. And that's what the Saints have been since Sean Payton left. It's just like over and over and over again, and it just doesn't stop. And it's going to take a while.
That's an outstanding point. I think the organizations that you alluded to, the Buffalo Bills, one, the Pagulas have done a tremendous job. Two, they lucked into John Elway deciding not to draft Josh Allen for whatever reason, even though it's like, hey, man, do you see a bigger, stronger clone of yourself?
I know why.
You don't like it?
He's got a brain the size of a horse.
You don't like that? Oh, okay, cool. So, and then the Eagles, obviously, they had the Eagles owners had the presence of mind that even when Chip Kelly, your offensive coordinator, was running roughshod and doing whatever he wanted to that organization, they still kept Howie Roseman in a basement, in a cellar somewhere, so that when it was over with, he could jump back in and fix all of the mistakes that Chip Kelly made. And 2 years later, they won a stinking Super Bowl. So I think that it obviously starts at the very top with ownership. Like the Titans, for example, we're on our 4th GM in 9 years.
Yeah.
That's just not going to, and that's because Amy Adams Strunk is just constantly trying to turn
Raider
it over.
legend.
Oh. So it starts with organizational stability at the very top. And if you don't have that, you're never going to, you might strike strike gold and win a playoff game, make it to a conference semifinal or a conference championship every now and then. But then it's mostly going to be up and down. It's going to be way too unpredictable because you can't expect the same results and change out personnel constantly.
Right.
Like you do that with the roster as it is. So you're changing the philosophy of your entire organization, your entire business model, for lack of a better term. Like at the end of the day, it's a business. You're changing the business model, who's in charge of the business model, and the people underneath him a year over year over year over year. And you can't expect the same result, like the same product, even if the branding is still the same. So yeah, that's an excellent point that you made, Biggs. I didn't mean to run on a tangent about that, but yeah.
No, but to your point, like, I mean, Howie Roseman is the guy where every time I watch the NFL draft, every time there's an Eagles pick, I go, no, damn it, I wanted him.
I mean, he did it. Oh, he did us dirty this year. I mean, he got Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, who both guys I was so excited for.
The only thing that made the Quinyon Mitchell pick not hurt this year was that we got Brock Bowers.
Right.
Yeah. I thought of a fish analogy, and you have like some teams are like catfish, and they're just like strolling around on the bottom, just like bottom feeding, and they never really like come up unless like they get caught, which is dumb luck, right? And then you have dolphins that like they're out of the water, they're like on the surface, and they're like diving, and they're like successful and stuff. Not everybody can be the Steelers. Just like swimming through the middle every year. I don't know. It was a fun analogy in my brain.
I like it. I hate the fact that the Steelers are so mid, and like I rooted for Tomlin, but now I'm hearing stories about how he's doing business with people in his organization, and I've been as pro Tomlin as a Tomlin guy. Like I met him at my pro day years and years and years ago, and he said some really nice stuff to me, and I've always been pulling for him ever since then. But like now it's just like, oh, man, maybe they do need.
You look like my nephew. He was at the Senior Bowl, and I was just thinking, where's Chev?
We've never discussed this before, but that has been something that people have said to me, and I was like, no, I don't. Not even a little bit.
No, a little bit. We had Coach jumping in with sounds fishy to me, which is that's a Djibouti puns level pun. Shout out Bradley Stalder. And then I am remiss because I missed this because it's hard to go back and forth from the chat. We need a producer. Hard to go back and forth with the chat. Sam Darnold trains in Regina. Shout out, Coach. little inside humor. All right. The last of the stories that we're going to talk about, and this will kind of like segue us into the combine talk. Let's talk about Travis Hunter for a second, because we were on a show last night and we talked about him a little bit. There's an article that came out, and somebody asked AJ Brown about him. And AJ Brown said, quote, "It's going to be tough for him. I'm not saying he can't do it, because who am I to tell him he can't do anything? But he's got a lot of work ahead of him." Brown cautioned, "It's a lot of plays. It's a long year, and he's going to have to practice." The headline of this is Travis Hunter gets a reality check from AJ Brown, "You can't be a dual threat in the NFL."
Oh my God.
So I have a problem with that sentiment, simply granted, my basis of knowledge is coming off of having watched Deion Sanders play in the NFL, 30 years ago. Okay.
Right.
The game has changed a lot since then. Everything is more specialized. I don't think that Deion Sanders circa 1994 would be an elite cornerback in 2025, simply because that's the way that things progress. Not to say that in his era, Deion Sanders wasn't the best, not to say that he shouldn't be in the conversation for the best of all time. But things change, eras change. Guys are faster now. Guys are bigger now. Guys, like, nutrition is better. Weight programs are better. They have a larger base of knowledge from Pop Warner than they did in the Deion Sanders era. Like, things are just different. The game evolves, right? But Deion Sanders absolutely could have been more of a two-way player. Charles Woodson also. Those guys were threats on offense and very, very good on defense. Now, it kind of hints at the fact that if you are good on defense, that is more valuable to your team than being good as a wide receiver. So I can understand NFL teams looking at Travis Hunter and salivating over his cornerback skills. I can also see them wanting to keep him in bubble wrap because if something happens to him coming over the middle and catching a pass, what do you lose? You lose more if you lose a cornerback than you do if you lose a wide receiver. I understand all that, but the dude is uber talented and has an opportunity to be a generational player that we haven't seen the likes of in a long, long time. It has been reported that he is not going to work out as a wide receiver at the combine, but it has also been reported that he will too. What are your Travis Hunter thoughts? Like, obviously, we know what it takes to excel at one specific position. Can he do it with two?
Well, so this is a tricky situation because I've comped him to the Shohei Ohtani of football. Like, we thought that we would never see a guy that can throw gas and then hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases and join the 40-40 club. So, and then we see it and it's like everybody's just kind of like, oh yeah, that happened. And for years we've all been like, man, it would be so cool if one of these awesome corners played receiver, and then we get it, and then everybody's like, well, I don't know if it's going to translate to the next level because of the fact that he's not going to be able to use. And it's like, guys, this is one of the most rare talents that we have ever seen. Ever.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop. He's one of the best corners. Like, I did a thought exercise with a buddy of mine, and as a prospect, he would be up there. Just if he was just a corner, he would be up there with Patrick Surtain, Jalen Ramsey, and I mean, Darrelle Revis wasn't even that highly touted of a prospect coming out of college.
Right.
So
it took him a couple of years.
Right. Patrick Surtain and Jalen Ramsey were like the archetypes. They're the NFL archetype prototype corners, right? I would take him over. I mean, you talk about Stingley. I would take him over Stingley. They're like, he's in that echelon of corner, and he won the Biletnikoff as the best receiver in college football.
Right.
So his athleticism is something that we haven't seen it before. Like, so comparing him to Deion Sanders, which it's a great point about Deion Sanders, but you have to also take into account if Deion Sanders grew up in this era, he would have access to all the things that, he didn't have access to.
I was just saying, transplanting that dude.
Right. Transplanting that guy into this NFL. I mean, he's still a freaky athlete. But let me stay with Travis Hunter. Because I think that he is that type. Yeah, I was about to squirrel. I was about to rabbit hole. I was about to go full. I was about to give you the full Chev experience right there and just go 20 different directions. But let me stay focused, because I believe that Travis Hunter is going to be one of the first guy that's going to record 5 or 6 interceptions in a season and put up over 700 or 800 yards receiving. And that's playing like maybe 50% of the snaps. He's going to be drafted as a corner. He's the best corner in the draft. And I would argue that if he decided to just play receiver, he'd be the best receiver in the draft. Once the combine happens, if he decides to run at the combine, I expect him to run in the low 4.3s or high 4.2s. Yes, I think he's that fast. Yes, I think he's going to run. He's going to have like a 44 or 45 inch vertical. You've seen some of the balls that he adjusted to and attacked in the air. Like, there's no question his vertical is going to be above 40 inches. And then the agility metrics and his technical ability at the corner position is what separates him, and the way that he just transitions. And he's almost never out of position. save for, Alec Ayomanor doing what he did to Travis as a true 19, 20-year-old sophomore. Like we've seen the ceiling that is nearly unlimited. As Michael Jordan would say, Coach, you're in North Carolina, you'll appreciate this. The ceiling is the roof for Travis Hunter at corner. And I think that he's going to give us Deion Sanders' best season as a receiver was like 30 receptions for 425 yards and 4 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. I think we're going to get that from Travis Hunter multiple times throughout his career. And I think if he plays enough snaps, he could approach 1,000 yards. But we're not going to know because he's going to be playing probably close to 90 to 100 plays a game. I don't think he's going to play 130 like he did at Colorado, but I think he's going to play 100 plays a game. He's a special on top of all the physical attributes he has. He's in special condition, like his conditioning. I know you love conditioning, Biggs. You've mentioned it about players before, so don't try to discount it now. But he's in special shape. You have to be in special shape to contribute on both sides of the ball in the manner in which he does. So for me, I think, like I said, this is something that we've never seen before. So we have to go into it with eyes wide open. And I refuse to make a judgment on what he's going to be at the next level because we've never seen anyone like it before. Chris Gamble moonlit at corner. Charles Woodson moonlit as a receiver. Chris Gamble moonlit at receiver. Charles Woodson moonlit at receiver. And they were both really, really good when they had opportunities. I just don't think that this is like that level of production we haven't seen it before. Like I said, so we have to go in eyes wide open for what could be possible. And if it's something you've never seen before, you can't put it into the box of it didn't work for this person or it's not going to work because you've never had that set of circumstances before. So that's my take on Travis Hunter.
Okay, I don't want to be alarming, but the audio might have changed because while you were speaking, I realized that my microphone was under the desk before. So I don't know how the levels are, but we're good now. I want to see it. It reminds me of one Vincent Edward Jackson, who was also a moonlighter. He moonlit as a running back and put up historic numbers.
Yes. He's that type. That's it. He's that type of talent. Like he is that. He's just not 6 foot and 230 pounds. He's 6'1", 185 pounds.
Yeah, not
Vincent
not a lot
Edward
of
Jackson, for those who don't know, is Bo Jackson.
He knows. They knows. I want to see it. I want to see it from Travis Hunter. I think whoever is lucky enough to draft him, I think they can use that as a marketing thing.
Number one, baby. Number one.
Travis
Hunter, no matter what.
I think he should. But
we don't have to get into that tangent right now. That'll set me off on another 6 minutes of me just drooling about why I think we should draft the best player available. But let's move on to what you have on the agenda next, brother.
Yeah, I wanted him until when we were prospectively going to get the number 1 pick in Las Vegas. He was my guy, but he won't last till the 6th. All right. We're gonna come back and talk about the combine on the other side. But first,
rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now. So why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Jimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies and use your favorite Player Profiler host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Land Larson in the game. Let's go.
Land Larson, no matter what. So normally you handle these, Biggs, but I'm going to step in here. I absolutely love the Origins draft. I try to knock out 1 to 2 a day, and it's been a blast. One, you get to I have an excuse to go look up more rookies and research more rookies like your boy Lane Larrison, like a LaQuint Allen that we talked about on Dynasty Stock Market the other day. The Origins draft gives you such an advantage, and it allows you to stay plugged in from a content perspective on your favorite rookies prior to their landing spot, so you can get an advantage on anyone who deems themselves a ball knower, but they're not doing the work. So yeah, come try to take me down in an Origins draft. I won't steal your thunder. You can still use bigz promo code, but I'll take your money.
Promo code down there in the presented by Fast Draft thing. Use promo code Booth. I won money last year with 2 guys out of the 5 really scoring points on one of my builds. I had like Jalen Polk and like Will Shipley and guys that just didn't do anything, but having Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors put me in the money. Like, where else can you do that but Fast Draft? Draft faster with Fast Draft.
Draft rapido.
Ja'Cory Brooks.
Ja'Cory Brooks.
Texas
Louisville.
Cheat code. All right. Ja'Cory Brooks.
Are you thinking about Taj Brooks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
Taj Brooks. That boy thick. 5'10", 230. He's got some special wiggle to his game. This is not a football show, buddy. Wait, yes it is.
Yes, it is. It's only football.
This is not a fantasy show, buddy.
No, it's not a fantasy show. But it's a Fast Draft show.
It is a Fast Draft show, so we have excuses to talk about players like Taj Brooks.
Yes. I just wrote him up for the pending rookie guide, courtesy of our own Theo Greminger, and liked what I saw doing my research.
Research. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I've been a big fan. I've tweeted out several times about Taj Brooks and his thickness and how I am a fan of his thickness and lateral agility.
So here we go. Here we are going to give you a primer on what to look for in the at the NFL Combine when you are doing your own scouting, when you're watching the Combine and you want to know what's important for like players at specific positions in fantasy football. What are we looking for? So I'm going to share this, and it's going to be available to everybody via a website called Sumer Sports. And I've been talking about it on all my fantasy shows, and I like it so much.
I love it.
What influences
I love it a lot.
Production. So you can see here, or as you can see here, at the quarterback position, the correlation, combine information and production correlation, quarterbacks that have the biggest broad jump, that's the best correlation for production in the NFL. Age is another one, so you want young quarterbacks, but that's not something that you tune into the combine to see. We already know that information. 3-cone drill is next. Weight, and then the 40. The 40 is an interesting one to me because that has to have changed over the years. We're looking at quarterbacks that are your good quarterbacks are between like 4.65 and 4.9, right?
Mm-hmm. The best quarterback ran a 4.81. So
4.8 what?
Yeah, Mahomes ran like a 4.81.
Oh, okay. That's what you're saying, right? But you'll notice that there are some corollaries at the quarterback position that have nothing to do with athleticism, age, weight, and height. But broad jump and 3-cone are still very important. So you want some agility in your quarterback. So when you're watching your Jackson Dart, your Cam Ward, your Chev Sanders,
say compete, it right.
Chev Sanders compete at the combine in the drills if they're not afraid to compete. That
is some diabolical shade.
That's a callback from 2024. These are the things that we're looking for, right? Okay, let's move on to the wide receivers, I think. Running backs. Okay. Now you'll see, as you can note, age is the single most important. Age at the time of draft is the single most important corollary to running back production. That's going to be changing as well. I feel like as this study is updated over the next 5 years, that's going to change because guys aren't coming out after 3 years anymore. There are a few in this class, which surprised me. But traditionally, we haven't seen a lot of junior declares for a while. It has a lot to do with the COVID year. It has a lot to do with the fact with
Yes.
NIL money, stuff like that. So that's going to be changing. But weight, let's talk about weight for a second. So age and weight, if you're 21 years old and you weigh 225 pounds or more, and we can probably take that weight and switch it to BMI. So BMI is probably a better indicator, and you want your BMI on your running back to be 30 or above. 225 pounds, that's what you want your running back to look like. But BMI changes that. So, like, yeah, if you're 6'1" and 225, you're going to have that BMI. If you're 5'8", you want to be at least 200, 205 pounds. So we have a ton of running backs coming out that are around the 30 BMI that are 5'8" and around 200, 205 pounds. I'm talking about Trevor Etienne. I'm talking about James Jordan is a little bit bigger than
the
that.
man who threatened your life.
RJ Harvey.
Yes, sir.
Mighty
Yes,
Mouse.
sir.
So don't put as much stock into height or 40 time with the running backs. That's not what's important. Look at their short space athleticism, the 3-cone drill, the shuttle. Look for their explosiveness in the broad jump, and then the vertical and bench isn't very important either. But that's what we're looking for from the running backs.
So, it's an excellent point. I think people get, and I would even go a step further for running backs and just eliminate, unless a guy runs something ridiculous. Like if a running back runs a 5 flat, I'm not going to be interested, obviously. If they run anything over a 4.75, I'm probably not going to be interested at all, even though that's the least corollary. I would say that one of the most important corollaries for me is their 10-yard split.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their 10-yard split is of the utmost importance to me. Ironically enough, Christian McCaffrey ran a slower 10-yard split than Brock Purdy, who somehow or another has a faster split than Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. How does that make sense?
I don't know. That's quick get off.
Yeah, but that's the acceleration and explosion that I think would then correlate and translate into how guys explode out, and then they're able to change direction with their 3-cone or their 3-cone or their L drill. So I'm really excited to see a lot of these guys test. I don't know how you feel about it, but I go into the combine kind of looking to confirm the things that I saw on film. Like for a guy like RJ Harvey, for example, like you saw this incredible burst, like laterally, and you saw the long speed as well. So I'm curious to see what that translates to in like raw numbers. I mean, we've got the measurables already. He's 5'7.5", 207, right? And then one of your guys, Basil Tootin. How do you say it? Is it Basul?
I say Beischel.
Baishul Tootin came in at what, 5'9", 213?
I think it was 5'8", 8'4".
Yeah, 5'8" and 213. So that boy thick.
Yeah.
And he has a chance to run one of the fastest 40s. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got Brashard Smith, who came in at 5'9", 195. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There's another guy who finished his RB13 overall who came in at 5'9", 192 pounds last year. I'll let you guys look up who that was. And Brashard Smith's one of my favorite guys in this entire class. So he's outside of that 30 BMI. However, I think he's going to blow a lot of these metrics that are corollaries for success out of the water. So yeah. Sorry, we can move on.
No, I am a former high school level baseball coach. The head of the program was he was Dustin Pedroia's head coach in high school. He put out plenty of D1. His program put out plenty of D1 and professional players. And there was one way that we taught guys as far as base running was concerned, and it was when you lead off of first base, you take one full stride out, and then you turn and you start taking half steps. And there was a reason for that. You want to be able to get a 3-step lead off the base, but if you are like perpendicular to the pitcher the whole time, you're not aware and you can't get back. So you step out, then you turn, and you can easily dive back. You get your 3-step lead, and then from that point, what your target is when you're trying to steal a base is 11 steps. So you go, as you're running, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, boom, and you slide, right? If you go back and you watch like video of Ricky Henderson stealing bases, he got there in 9 steps.
Golly.
You want to know how to steal 145 bags in a major league season? Get there in 9 steps. And that's what we're looking at with running back explosiveness. You look at a metric like yards before contact. Who's able to beat, like you have a defensive tackle coming out of his stance. You want to be the running back hitting that defensive tackle before he gets out of his stance, or getting around him before he gets out of that stance. Because if you're not getting to that defensive tackle until he's 2 steps closer to you, you're not explosive. So that's kind of like that goes into the statistics. And top end speed isn't necessarily like a huge thing. How many running backs really put together runs where the defense is just sleeping, they bust through to the second level, and then they're gone? There aren't as many opportunities for running backs to do that as we'd like to think. A lot of that is line play. A lot of that is bad defensive play. So your top end speed on your running backs is not important. If he runs a 4.4, that's great. If he runs a 4.67, he can still be Bucky Irving. And we're also talking about 0.2 of a second difference. Like a snap of a finger difference between crossing the line. We are parsing out the 99.9th percentile of athletes on this planet. We're splitting hairs if we're saying some guy's going to fail because he runs a 4.5 and another guy's going to succeed because he runs a 4.4 in underwear at the combine. So the other thing is that the NFL has pretty advanced analytics, and a company that shall remain nameless has a database, and they track through GPS and chips and other stuff mile per hour conversions. And so you get a guy who's hitting top speed at 22 miles an hour in the open field and the guy who's hitting the top speed at 23 miles per hour. What's the difference when you're talking about over the course of 60 yards? It's not a lot. It's fun to talk about. That's why the 40 is the marquee thing, but it's not the most important. So take that into your fantasy drafts. Understand that when a guy goes out and he's a running back and he runs a 4.38, everybody's going to be so hyped. Oh my God, he ran the second fastest 40 at the combine. And then your guy who ran a 4.5, but he had a better 3-cone drill, a better shuttle. He's younger and he's 10 pounds heavier. That's the guy I'm drafting. You can have the faster 40 time. All right.
Well,
we'll move on to the wide receiver position. Age, another one. And I explained this on our show last night. Age is a concern because, and I don't mean concern in like a worrisome way. I mean, age is something to note because you have a situation where a kid who comes out and has 700 yards or more as a freshman, that's considered a freshman breakout. And especially if they're a true freshman, they didn't have a redshirt year. Then they eclipse 1,000 yards as a sophomore, and then again as a junior. They are now 20, 21 years old, and they enter the draft. versus a guy, and I wrote this guy up. I forgot his name. I wrote him up yesterday. He's from San Jose State.
Nick Nash.
Nick Nash, thank you. And he is coming into the league as a 6th-year senior. He had 2 pretty good years, including a fantastic 3rd senior year, because he made a positional transition, right? So I think he had close to 1,500 yards receiving or something like that. Granted, San Jose State, they lose to FBS teams sometimes. They're not exactly, I think the best player they've ever put out was Jeff Garcia. So this dude is old. He's not Tyler Shuck old, but he's old.
Almost.
He's almost Tyler Shuck old.
Yeah. He's Bo Nix old. He's not Tyler Shuck old.
I think he might even be the same age as Aiden O'Connell. Anyway, the point being, you want to see a guy who is dominating in the first 3 years of his career in college and then entering the draft. That's going to lead to more, like, that shows better talent. Nick Nash might be a different story just because he had a position change. So that's something that I'm keeping my eye on. But the whole point of age is that you want somebody who has dominated in the SEC at 18, 19, 20 years old, to the point where now he's a viable prospect in the NFL. And that kind of leads to higher production when they get to the NFL level. All right, so we're looking at vertical leap, we're looking at bench press, shuttle and broad jump, 3-cone, and again, 40 time and size are not as important for production on the NFL field as the athleticism, the practice reps that they take. Vertical is explosiveness. Bench is ability to push off of or use your upper body strength to create separation, whether that's within the first 5 yards or bodying somebody up when you're in a contested catch situation or whatever. You want guys to be strong. Shuttle is that, again, short area agility, and broad jump is explosiveness. 3-cone drill, short area agility. You want your wide receivers to showcase explosiveness and short area agility. So that's what we're looking for. So a guy like Trey Harris, he's big. He weighs a lot. He could run a 4.5. That's all well and good. But if he's not explosive in the vertical jump and doesn't have a good shuttle time, he's gonna slip down some production metrics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Trey Harris comes in at 6. He's measured, well, Ole Miss lists him at 6'3", 210. I expect him to be, the NFL, whatever. They do it weird to where you have to, like, put your heels close, like, next to each other and then lean backwards. So if you're 6'3", you're really 6'2" and like 3/8 or something like that. It's really dumb. But I fully expect him. I mean, he broke out as a true sophomore at Louisiana Tech with over 900 yards receiving. I expect him to do really, really well in the vertical jump, broad jump. And I'm curious for these numbers in the shuttle and 3-cone, because as a bigger guy, we've seen him win on end breakers and separate. I mean, he absolutely dominated against man coverage at the highest level in the SEC. So with that, I mean, that's a 5.12 yards per route run versus man coverage. That broke the model for over 200 routes run. So I'm curious to see how he does in those agility metrics. Another guy that I'm really, really interested to see is Alec Iomanner.
Mm-hmm.
Similar size. As we mentioned earlier, he had the monster game against Travis Hunter. He was suffering from erratic, let's just call it erratic quarterback play at best at Stanford. So I'm really
4 times the axe, baby. 4 times. Stanford seniors never saw the axe. Let's go, California.
Hashtag Novata Boys.
Hashtag Nevada Boys.
So yeah, that's another guy. I want to see some of these big guys run. Hey, we have a theme here.
Yeah,
Chev,
I was going to say
Chev
Jaden Higgins.
Moore.
I'm going to say Jaden Higgins.
Go ahead, do it.
Jaden Higgins, 6'3", 217. I watched him cook small cornerbacks on the line with his footwork. I want to see that agility play out at the combine, because dude's big, and I like to watch him play football, and I want him to be good. And he's a mid-rounder in fantasy, and I want to be able to exploit that. So if he's coming off with good explosivity and short area agility, it's going to do a lot, because we already know he can body people up. And I mean, he pushed over a D-back. He made a linebacker fall down with his route running ability at 6'3", 217. Like, don't be sleeping on Jaden Higgins.
Flipping the script in a complete deviation from my norm, I'm excited also about Tez Johnson.
Yes.
Now, his stock and his rise, much like another guy that Coach mentioned in the comments earlier, his stock and his rise is going to be predicated solely on the agility metrics and his 40 time. If he runs a really fast 40, he's going to shoot up from being probably a day 3 prospect to sneaking into day 2 because of that. I mean, he had an incredible production profile at Oregon. And then last but not least, Isaiah Bond. We talked about him last night. What do you think he does? Because I mean, all of these things, the age, the explosive metrics, I doubt that he's gonna break the bench press record. What is it for receivers? I mean, it's got to be around like I think DK Metcalf did like 28. If Isaiah Bond does, yeah, I think if Isaiah Bond does more than 28 reps on the bench press, I think he's just been drinking horse testosterone for like months. That's probably why he got injured. He was going to get popped for PEDs at Texas because he's been drinking horse testosterone and injecting it directly into his veins intravenously for months if he breaks the bench press record. So, yeah.
27.
27. Yeah. So, no. He's going to break the bench press record.
Oh. Neither is Tez Johnson.
Neither is Tez Johnson. I don't see anybody. I mean, obviously, DK Metcalf is some of a former offensive lineman, and if you're talking about like half Minotaur humans, that's the prototype for it. So
now I did have a buddy in high school who was it was middle school when he was competing heavily, but he was a competitive weightlifter, and he was 5'1", and he was winning. Like his pulls were bigger than guys in like 4 or 5 weight classes heavier than him, just because he was so small that his throw is like boop, boop,
yeah.
Boop. So and like I've power lifted, and I had a buddy who was about 5 or 6 inches shorter than me, and his arms were this like 7-8 inches shorter than mine. So when he and I were trying to push the same weight like off the bench, I had a good like at least half a foot longer to push it, and he's just like out here wide, just going bang, bang, bang. And it's amazing to watch small, strong people, because it's a shorter throw. So all they need is that push. I had the push at the end, but not off the get-go. You know what I mean? Like we just had different like physiology, and it's fun.
Yeah, the lever length is different, and that changes the amount of force that it takes to get the bar from point A to point B.
Right. Yeah, I could lock out like 150 pounds more than him, but he could get 150 pounds more off his chest than I could. All right, let's move on to the tight ends and wrap it up. I need to figure out. Yeah, there we go. Tight end is an interesting one, and we've talked about this quite a bit. The reason that it's so interesting to me is because if you look down at the bottom of this is the first time with any of these position groups where you start getting into negative correlations. So the strength, height, and weight of tight ends is so unimportant, it actually hurts their production in the NFL when they are stronger, bigger, and heavier. You want the fast 40 time. Now remember, with the wide receivers and the running backs, the guys that we usually attribute, they're 40 time, the marquee event. It's really the tight ends that if you are the fastest tight end at the combine, you have a better chance of being high productive at the NFL level. Broad jump, again, explosiveness, vertical explosiveness, 3-cone and shuttle, so that short area agility is a little bit less important. And then age is fine. So we got some athleticism in this class. Now, we talked last night, and we were talking about Tyler Warren. Bro's big. Maybe too big. So he's got to show out in those agility metrics if he wants to be able to show that he's going to be productive as a tight end. Elijah Arroyo is another one. At the Senior Bowl, he was turning heads because he looked very athletic on the field, but he's 250 pounds. You got Harold Fannin Jr. and Colston Loveland that are 238 pounds. That's going to make a huge difference, especially if those guys in their rankings are more athletic than your Tyler Warren. And so my specific target is Oronde Gadsden the second.
Oh, 2 sticks. I like it. So
not junior.
Not junior. The second. Oronde, second of his name. House Gadsden.
Wow.
Anywho, yeah.
That was pretty cool. Chev Doer R.R. Sanders.
Yeah, I think so. This is one of the deepest tight end classes that we've seen in the last 8-9 years. And I think that a lot of these guys stand to make themselves a ton of money. First and foremost being Harold Fannin Jr. Now, if you talk about his production profile, he owns every single season tight end record of note. He finished third in the Biletnikoff voting. He goes into the Senior Bowl. Now, I have a hard time with his movement profile because of the fact that it looks really stiff and jerky. But when he decides to go in a direction, the person covering him stays in whatever direction they were going, and then he's just wide open. Now, granted, this is against people who are going to be future pulpit salesmen at Old Dominion. So I don't really know. I don't know how much. I didn't know how much credence to give it until I saw him do dirt against Penn State and Texas A&M. So it's not just the fact that he is doing it against lower levels of competition. He had 8 for 137 against Penn State. He had a 70-yard touchdown against Texas A&M, and they're using him on middle screens and things that you use for really small, really fast people to get them in space. And so he stands to make himself a ton of money. If he goes out, I believe the fastest 40 ever by a tight end is Vernon Davis at 4.38. I don't think he's going to do that. But if he runs sub 4.6, he's going to make himself a ton of money. Our guy, because I loved Elijah Arroyo. I wrote him up before the Senior Bowl. He's a former 4-star recruit. Which, by the way, Harold Fannin, 0-star recruit, got it out the mud. Love seeing that. Stayed with the program the entire time. Didn't transfer.
Those are the best stories.
Yeah, but he was the number 4 tight end coming out of high school, Elijah Arroyo, and then he goes to Miami. Suffers from bad quarterback play, limited production because Cam Ward spread the ball around so much. But 590 yards, second team All ACC. I think that he stands to gain a ton based on the performance at the Senior Bowl. You've seen him be an elite catch and run athlete on the actual football field. Then he goes out and dominates all the drills and in team drills at the Senior Bowl. We just need to confirm our priors there. So anything sub 4.65 for him, I think would be excellent. And
so just a quick perusal. We have Tyler Warren at 4.68, Colston Loveland at 4.7, Harold Fannin Jr. at 4.62, Then we got 475, 469, 464, 473, 476, 472, 46, 47, 45. One of these things is not like the other.
Are you talking about Oronde Gaston's 40
You
time?
want to guess who the 4-5 was?
Oronde Gaston? Yeah. I mean, he's a receiver.
Everybody else was in the 4-6s. Yeah.
I'm
but he's also 6'4", 247.
Yes. So I think that's one of the guys that's going to rise the most. And I'm glad that you brought him up. I put out a tweet a while back, on the NFL Watch and I put it out about Oronde Gaston, and that blew up. It had like 70,000 views, and people were just arguing in the comments about him. And I was like, oh, this guy's actually polarizing. It's like, I thought it was just kind of an accepted thing that this guy can play. We just don't know how. I mean, if it was the NFL 15 years ago, then yeah, we have questions. But this is the pace and space NFL, man. Like, we're getting athletes in space and we're doing stuff with them. So I thought it was a pretty straightforward refrain that this guy's going to be a stud at the next level. But apparently there's questions. And I think he's going to put all those questions to bed once we get to Indianapolis.
Well, I'd be knowing, and I've had him on every Campus to Canton and Debbie team. And he was supposed to ascend last year, but he got hurt in 2023, which put off his declare. He had a sophomore breakout as a tight end, and even had a really good freshman year. I want to say in his freshman year, he was breaking records.
Well, he was still playing. He was still moonlighting as a receiver as a freshman.
Right. And it's kind of like a Brock Bowers style trajectory, but without the junior declare. He managed to suffer an injury. So I've been waiting on this kid for a couple of years, which is like, that's why you should be playing C2C and Debbie leagues, because when you start looking at statistical banks of freshmen and sophomores, and you start seeing guys who are like, you can look at the Iowa tight end depth chart over on Fantrax in your leagues. It gives you another little edge when you start getting into dynasty and then rising rookies and redraft and stuff. So I highly recommend everybody getting into C2C and Devi. But yeah, I've been waiting for this kid, and I'm super excited at the combine, because there's a good possibility that he is the most athletic tight end of the class. He and Harold Fannin Jr., I think, are going to be the two at the very top in most of those agility and speed drills. And I'm here to see it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. And that's an important point for dynasty players. Like, if you are looking to get better as a player, why not play more fantasy games like C2C and Debbie to get to know these rookies, so that you have an edge over the guys that are just kind of tapping back in after the NFL draft and reading someone's report about. Now, if they read what me and bigz have to say, they're going to get up to speed pretty quick. So you're going to lose that edge. So just do your draft as quickly as possible. However,
especially on Ladarius Shadarius and
Noah Theodore Olivier.
The third.
So but yeah, if you want to get better, play more formats of fantasy that are related to learning about these guys while they're still in college. So you can formulate your own opinions and don't have to listen to someone else. But if you're going to listen to somebody, listen to these two ball knowers over here, bud.
Yeah, and to do that, you want to like and subscribe. That'll help get links over to our Twitter pages at BigBonedFFB and at Chev90, and that will lead you to our content on Fantasy Sports Advice Network, the Undroppables, Fantasy Football Plus, all the places that we drop in and talk ball.
Don't forget Uncovered NFL.
And Uncovered NFL, and also Dynasty Stock Market right here on Tuesdays on Player Profiler Now. We're in this game, bro, and that's what we're doing. So you don't have to. All you got to do is just throw on YouTube every once in a while, and listen to our homework, and it'll help give you that edge that you need to be a winner. So we're gonna get out of here. I got to go to work. I need to be there in 6 minutes ago.
Yeah, get out of here, bud.
Luckily, it's a mom and pop store. There's no formality. I get paid under the table. So it's
if you mention that you get paid under the table, then now people know that you get paid under the table.
My name's not attached to anything.
Yeah, we don't talk about Bruno, is what I'm trying to say.
All right. Have a great week, you guys. We'll be back with some combine results next week. We won't have the skill positions, I don't think, but we will be able to talk about some offensive linemen that may have gotten first-round draft capital and exciting other stuff like that. Plus, I want to say there's going to be some free agent talk over the next week, so we'll have a lot more content for you. Follow us on all the platforms and everything. Go play Fast Draft. Use promo code BOOTH. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.